The key to a symmetrical butterfly is all in the middle. That's how you can get a nice symmetrical piece along with a 3D looking project. Hi everyone, it's Nicole here and welcome to BOCHIKNOT Macrame. In this video, I'm super excited to be sharing with you a DIY macrame butterfly keychain pattern with beads. There were some challenges I faced with this pattern. Firstly, I overestimated the cord lengths that I needed for this project, but that's okay. I saved the scraps that I'm going to use for another project later on. And secondly, it was quite difficult getting the butterfly to look symmetrical, but I did manage to get there, so I will be walking you through and showing you how that's done. With that said, if you guys are ready to jump into this gorgeous project, let's get started. Listed here are the materials and supplies that I have used for this pattern along with the suggested cord lengths. So as for the materials I'll be using for this pattern, I'll be using this gold lobster clasp. It's just a regular lobster clasp with the little hoop at the bottom. The cord I'll be using is a 3mm single strand cord in the color natural and gold. This is natural color cotton cord that is twisted together with some gold tinsel. Now this cord can be a little tough to use if you are a beginner because the gold tinsel does tend to separate from the cotton fairly easily. So I recommend tying overhand knots at the end of each strand of cord to prevent the tinsel from unraveling too easily. We do have multiple cord roll sizes as well, 100 meter, 50 meter, and even larger rolls. Perfect for these smaller keychain projects. And then lastly, you'll need some beads. So I'll be using these 10mm size beads with 5mm hole in the center. If you're interested in any of these materials, I have tagged them in the description below. To begin, we are going to start with the lobster clasp with a 50cm long cord. Fold it in half. We're going to weave it through the bottom of the lobster clasp and make a lark set knot. Once done, either pin or tape down the top part of the lobster clasp on a steady surface so it's easier to work with. And then we're going to take a strand of cord at 140 centimeters long, place it underneath the two vertical cords, and we're going to make a double half hitch knot. So before we tighten the double half hitch knot, make sure that the left and right ends are matched and even, and then pull on both cord ends so that they are even once the knot is tightened. Take a second 140 centimeter long cord and repeat the same thing underneath for a double half hitch knot. Now you can kind of tell that the cords that I am using here are quite long. So I actually overestimated cord lengths for this pattern. So the cord lengths that you see at the front and the ones I'm mentioning right now, the 140 centimeter cord lengths, are the shortened version. So you don't have to waste cord like I did. But regardless, if you do end up with some cord lengths left, you can always save them as scraps for other projects. Once you have made two double half hitch knots you should have 4 more strands of 140 centimeter long cords left. We're going to make 4 more double half hitch knots underneath, repeating what we just did. Okay, so once we have all 6 strands attached onto the middle 2 vertical cords, we can now start on the butterfly wings. We're going to start on the right side first with the bottom right cord. Bring it upwards for a row of double half hitch knots going upwards. So we're going to take the next cord up as the working cord for a double half hitch knot and then continue all the way up, repeating the same pattern. Okay, so once the first row of double half hitch knots is complete, we're going to start at the bottom again, but this time we're going to skip that bottom cord, take the second cord up as an anchor cord for a row of double half hitch knots upwards as well. So essentially we're repeating the same pattern but with 1 double half hitch knot less. Once done, repeat the same pattern, skip the bottom cord, take the next cord up for another row of double half hitch knots. Then again, go back to the bottom, skipping the bottom cord for another row of double half hitch knots. Then last but not least, skip the bottom cord, take the next cord as an anchor cord for a double half hitch knot upwards. And this completes our last row of double half hitch knots on this side of the pattern. And then once we're done that, we're going to take the anchor cord back the opposite direction for a double half hitch knot. So now we're completing the second half of this wing pattern. Okay, now we're going to take the far right cord to the left as an anchor cord for 1 double half hitch knot first. And then here is where we're going to attach a bead. So that second cord that we're going to use to attach onto the anchor cord with a double half hitch knot, I'm just going to untie the overhand knot and I'm going to thread a bead through. If you're using the same size cord and beads as I am in this video, then you should be able to easily thread the bead through since we're using a 5mm whole bead with 3mm cord. So you shouldn't need to use any other tools to help you thread the bead through. So once we've threaded the bead through, use this cord like a working cord for the last double half hitch knot of this row. And then take the far right cord as an anchor cord for 2 double half hitch knots to the left. And then before we add on the third double half hitch knot here, thread a bead through that cord, that third working cord. And then once threaded through, you can now finish off this last double half hitch knot. Then again, repeat the same pattern starting with the far right cord, make a row of double half hitch knots. Thread the bead through that working cord before finishing off the last double half hitch knot of the row. Once done, we are now at the last row of double half hitch knots. Now we're going to make this last row slightly different. We're going to do a closing row of double half hitch knots. So start off with the first double half hitch knot as normal. Then once we're done, include that working cord with the anchor cord for the next double half hitch knot. And we're going to continue including the working cords with the anchor cord group for the next double half hitch knot until we've completed the row. Once done, make sure there's no scrunched up cords by pulling on all of the anchor cords to tighten all the knots up. And then to close this wing off, thread a bead through that last working cord. And then gather the rest of the cords as anchor cords for this very last double half hitch knot. And now we're done with the top right wing of the butterfly, and now we're going to repeat the exact same pattern on the left side. So we're just going to walk through this fairly quickly on the left side because it's the exact mirror image of the right side. So starting with the bottom cord as an anchor cord, make a row of double half hitch knots upwards. Then, skipping the bottom cord, take the next cord up for a row of double half hitch knots. Then again, skip the bottom cord, next cord up for a row of double half hitch knots. Repeat once more for a row of double half hitch knots upwards. Then last but not least, skip the bottom cord again, next cord up for one double half hitch knot upwards. And then here is where we're going to turn it back around to finish off the bottom side of this wing. So once this last row of double half hitch knots are made, flip the anchor cord back downwards for one double half hitch knot. Then starting with the far left cord as an anchor cord, make one double half hitch knot to the right. Then before we finish off the last double half hitch knot of this row, thread a bead through that working cord first. Then once threaded through, we can finish off this double half hitch knot for this row. Once done, start on the new row of double half hitch knots, taking the far left cord as an anchor cord. Then again, thread a bead through the last working cord before finishing off this row of double half hitch knots. Then again, take the far left cord as an anchor cord for a row of double half hitch knots to the right. And then thread the bead through the last working cord for one more double half hitch knot. Last but not least, we're going to finish off the last row of double half hitch knots. This is going to be the closing row of double half hitch knots, similar to what we did on the right side. So start off with a regular double half hitch knot, then include the working cord for the next double half hitch knot, and repeat this all the way down. Once we've made it all the way to the bottom, thread a bead through the last working cord and finish off the last double half hitch knot. Once done, we are now ready to finish off the last part of the wings, so the bottom wings of the butterfly on both sides. So to do that, what we're going to do is choose one of the anchor cords from the anchor cord group on both sides. Now, what I'm doing is tightening up all of the anchor cords on both sides. And then I'm just going to take one of the anchor cords, preferably one of the longer ones, on the left and right sides. And what we're going to do is make a diagonal double half hitch knot in the middle with these cords. So choose one anchor cord from both sides. And then starting with the left one, we're going to make a double half hitch knot onto the middle two vertical cords. So using that anchor cord now as a working cord, make a double half hitch knot onto the middle section. Now we do want to make this nice and tight. This is very key in ensuring that you have a nice symmetrical butterfly, and also so that you have the knots nice and tight to give it that 3D effect. The tighter your knots are, the more your wings will curve. Once you're done the double half hitch knot, then pull on the anchor cords to shift the knots upwards so that it straightens the double half hitch knot out. Then now take the anchor cord from the right side and make a double half hitch knot onto the two middle cords as well. Now you might see that the middle part will start curving over to the right side. Once you're done with the knot, pull on the anchor cords and it should straighten the middle section out. Okay, then once we're done, we're going to take those working cords that we had just used to make the double half hitch knots in the middle as anchor cords now to start a row of double half hitch knots to the sides. So on the left side first, take that anchor cord, and then with the next set of vertical cords, doesn't matter which order, one by one, attach them onto the anchor cord with double half hitch knots out to the left side. We do want to try to keep this row of double half hitch knots as tight to the top part of the wing as possible if you can. And then now we're going to repeat the same pattern on the right side. So once we're done the first row of double half hitch knots at the bottom, we're just going to take the far left cord on the right side as an anchor cord now for a row of double half hitch knots all the way to the right. Once done, bring the anchor cord now back to the left side for a row of double half hitch knots to the left. Once we're done on the right side, what we're going to do is repeat the same pattern on the left side. So starting with that far right cord on the left side as an anchor cord, make a row of double half hitch knots to the left. Then flip the anchor cord back to the right for a row of double half hitch knots. And then now, last but not least, we're going to make a closing row of double half hitch knots on both sides. So before I get into that, I'm just gonna flip the middle two vertical cords up and also the two anchor cords in the middle up, and just work with the cords on the sides first. So similar to the closing row of double half hitch knots we made above, include the working cord with the anchor cord group for the next double half hitch knot. But then this time, once you've finished this double half hitch knot, we're going to snip off the newly added anchor cord. So make sure we pull on the two anchor cords, find out which one was the newly added one. It should be the one from the side. Snip it off, and then now include the working cord we just used for the next double half hitch knot, and then repeat again. Once we're done this double half hitch knot, cut off the newly added anchor cord. And then we're going to repeat this one more time. And then bringing that top anchor cord down as a working cord, repeat this pattern once more. So once done, you should only be left with two cords on the left side. So now we're going to repeat this exact same closing row of double half hitch knots on the right side. So start off the first double half hitch knot as normal, then include the working cord with the anchor cord group for the next double half hitch knot. Then cut off the newly added anchor cord and then include the working cord we just used with the anchor cord for the next double half hitch knot. And then we're going to repeat this same pattern all the way to the left side. Once we're done, this is what the pattern should look like on both sides. And then now last but not least, with the anchor cord that's left on both sides, starting on the left side first, use that cord as a working cord for a double half hitch knot onto the middle 2 cords. So make the double half hitch knot as tight as possible at the bottom. Then once you're done the double half hitch knots, we're going to slide it up to meet the rest of the double half hitch knots up above. Now you can do this after we complete the double half hitch knot on the right side as well. So take that anchor cord on the right side for a double half hitch knot, and then now slide both knots to meet the rest of the row of double half hitch knots above, and you should have a butterfly with wings that curve. Once done, with those 2 working cords we had just used, we're going to tuck them in through the holes on the sides to the back. We're done with the knotting part of the pattern now, and all that's left is to hide the remaining cords through the back of the pattern. So ensuring that the middle double half hitch knot row is nice and snug and tight to make sure everything looks neat and symmetrical. And then if so, we can turn the pattern upside down, and then using a crochet hook we can tuck the excess cords at the back. So because I have such long cords left over, I'm just going to cut off the excess and just leave a few inches to work with. And we're only cutting off the 4 cords that are from the sides of the wings. We're not touching the middle 2 vertical cords just yet. And then with these 4 cord ends, we're going to weave them through one of the double half hitch knot loops at the back. So weaving them through any loop so that they're nicely tucked away. So once you have 1 cord tucked through, repeat this 3 more times with the remaining cords. And then once the rest of the cords are tucked through, we can snip off the excess. Now, if you do want some extra security on these, you can dab a bit of glue where we had tucked them through at the back to prevent them from coming undone too easily. And now we are complete with the pattern. Last but not least, this is optional. What I did was I threaded 2 beads through, 1 on each vertical cord, and then secured the ends with an overhand knot. So here I have threaded through 2 beads, and then I'm going to secure the beads with an overhand knot at the bottom. And now you can leave the ends as long as you want. I'm just going to keep them a few inches long and then snip off the excess. And we are now complete with this butterfly keychain. And that is a wrap with our macrame butterfly keychain pattern. What did you guys think of this project? I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comment section below. This project kicks off our macrame animal month over here, but also over on the BOCHIKNOT macrame community on Patreon. Now, if you enjoyed this macrame butterfly pattern, then you may enjoy learning more about advanced 3D macrame animal projects. And that is what we're going to go over in the community this month. So if you guys are interested in learning more advanced skills, you may want to check out patreon.com/BOCHIKNOT for more details. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.